Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Scale with Joy podcast. I'm here with Kim Walsh Phillips. Welcome, Kim. So glad that you're here.
Oh, I am so happy. I've been looking forward to this and such a joy to be with you today.
Yes, likewise. Now, you and I met on Clubhouse, and I was so blown away by how you've utilized so many different platforms to grow your business to an incredible amount in a short period of time. You're the founder of Power Professionals, but before that, you had an agency for many, many years that was very successful, where Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank was one of your clients. That's amazing. Can you share a little bit about how that actually came about?
We were with a group of entrepreneurs and we decided to hire different people that have speaking fees to come in and be with us for the day. So we actually had booked Kevin O'Leary with his speaking fee to come be with us for the day. And like all of the times before, I always prep before these meetings, and he went around the room and had us just introduce ourselves. And when I went, I talked about the ROI we got for every dollar we spent on marketing. And he said, "Wait, what do you do?" And I said, "I do direct response social media marketing." And he was blown away because the only things he had ever heard and seen about social was fluff and didn't provide any ROI. And in a big group of people, he said to me, "I'd like to hire you to work on all my companies. And I'd like to bring you in to speak to all my Shark Tank investments. And I'd like to bring you on the show." And the third one never happened, although that would have been amazing. And I mean, time is not over yet, but the other did. He became a client. I worked on all of his non-Shark Tank investment companies. I spoke at his event. Many of his companies became a client. Several of them are still in my coaching to this day. He remains a dear friend, and we do a lot of things together. But he's really incredible. He really is. He's very kind, but he is definitely all about the numbers. So we got along really well.
That's so awesome. Did you just sort of like fall over when that happened in that moment? Like, what did you say?
I had a staff person in the room, and I was so glad that someone else could actually hear at that moment. Like, as though it didn't happen. And some other friends have told the story again. I'm like, okay, so that did. It actually happened. As it's happening, I was like, inside, like, what? He's like, you should take on all my business. Like, yes, I should do that.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you finally saw that should be happening.
It should be happening, yes.
That's one of those just like amazing moments in your business that I know changes the trajectory. And while that's a lot of your claim to fame, and it's so fun because I've seen you together doing some work, you have this incredible background above and beyond having him as a celebrity client. Like, you've had, top selling books on Amazon. You've created this incredible business. What was that transition like? So you moved away from the agency and now you're mainly focusing on coaching.
This is a somewhat, morbid example, but did you see Schindler's List?
Yes.
At the very end, he sees a gold lapel pin he realized, he looks down, he sees on his chest, there was a gold lapel pin. And he has regret because he thinks, I could have sold that and I could have saved 2 more people.
Yes.
That is my jam. Like, I think of every single thing that I do, every minute of my day, dollar in my pocket, ounce of my talent, energy, of how many more people can I reach to save them. And so everything that I do, how I'm quote unquote everywhere, people say that I am always there. It's always, never once is it about me. It's about how many people can I serve in that moment. And that's why I had to sell my agency, because working with clients, we could only scale to 32. Like, at that limit, we would start falling apart. Yeah. And when I finally handed it over, I got 3 offers from my company. We launched our agency. In a year, we went to 11,000. Because there were all these people waiting to hear from us. And so I look at every day, like, this is crazy, but we have a virtual event coming up. And I have a multiple 7-figure company, yet we had these postcards that we put as part of an exercise they'll do at the event. And if I bought the postcards already cut, it was $500. If I bought a slicer and the cards I could cut myself, it was going to be $35. And I look at that as an additional 45 people I can get to come to the event by choosing to cut them myself. So every single thing is decided, how many people can we serve today?
I love that philosophy. So I know that you have used Clubhouse to really serve people, and you are a big believer in organic social media as well. Is that right?
Yes. Very much so.
What are some of the things that you think people who are listening might not know about actually creating growth on social media platforms? Because once you get to a certain level, I think that the belief, or the commonly held belief, is it's a pay to play type of situation.
Right. And it is in some ways. I mean, pay for speed. We wanted to get people into a workshop in 4 days and we had to buy ads. Like, I cannot be enough places organically in that amount of time to drive in major traffic. But that being said, if you're starting, you're scaling, you're growing, you absolutely positively can do it using organic, because the people are on there waiting and hungry for information, but it has to be entertaining content. So when it comes to organic, I like to think of it as a distribution platform for your own television show. And on that television show, if you have guests on that are other content leaders that have audiences, yes, you are going to reach more people. If you use live on Instagram to interview somebody else, you're going to bring in more people. But one of our biggest ROI driven activities using Instagram is coming up with a poll, a silly one, not a serious one, but something like, do you like pineapple on your pizza? Yes or no? Everybody votes on it because they just can't resist, because Instagram set it up to have a pleasure trigger. After you vote, you see the results. So then you find out, am I normal? Am I not normal? You get to see where you rank with other people. And if you do that kind of poll and then you make your next post an actual call to action post, Instagram will share your poll post with a lot more people than you have normally reached in your audience. And then more people will see your call to action posts. And there are a lot of behaviors like that on social media. Give them the thing the algorithm wants, which is fluffy things that they just adore, and then put your call to action right behind it.
I love that. Give them the cute bunnies and then sell to them. That's
right.
a very, very good philosophy. And I know too, you really specialize a lot in book authorship and helping people publish their books. You've had your own books published. What do you think are some secrets that people don't know about when it comes to actually being able to do that work?
A book reader is, if you're a coach or consultant or have thought leadership, a book reader is your absolute best prospect ever, because this is someone who has chosen to consume information. They've taken the time to do it. They had to find your link, then take an action to go to it, which is very different than clicking on a post. Now, I love my social media traffic, but the reality is the book readers, my podcast listeners, someone from Clubhouse, they had to take additional action in order to go into that space. So think about it, from a book, the podcast, a Clubhouse, they had to usually download an app or make a purchase, go through content, scroll through pages, and then take action, jumping through a hoop to take that next step. So these are typically action-oriented individuals who are willing to put time, money, and energy into something. So you are marketing to someone in a modality that already gives you the perfect target market. And the thing that you want to make sure that you do is the messaging inside the book gives them a compelling reason why they need to give you their contact information. Typically, it's going to be to get an outrageously amazing gift, and that gift is going to be a supplement to the material. It's crazy though. So Mike Michalowicz, the author of one of the best books ever, Profit First, he came to us back when I had my agency, and he wanted us to help him with lead generation. And when we went to his site, all of the resources he was offering from the book could just be downloaded without giving their contact information. And we're like, Mike, you are losing out on a massive number of leads and an incredible amount of monetization opportunity. So simply by putting the free gifts behind an opt-in wall, and on his thank you page offering them a $97 digital product, he brought $18,000 in revenue in the first 30 days. Like, there is stuff that you already have in place that you could just put another little level to and start to get a greater list of more ROI.
That's so good. I love that example, because I think for so many people, they have assets that exist that have so much potential. And it's really just a matter of making shifts to those assets so that they're more leveraged in order to be able to create a different result. I think it's so many people think I have to create this new thing, but a lot of times it's just doing approaching things differently on what you already have.
Well, and he knew enough to get an outside perspective, because we can't read that label from inside the bottle. And you are so good at this. And I think that's why so many people come to you for that outside perspective. And if you are currently just asking people for advice around you and they've never accomplished the thing you're asking for advice on, stop asking them for advice and get an actual professional to look at your thing, because sometimes it's like legit, the button didn't work and you could not see it
No.
for as
Yeah.
many times as you visited the page. You needed somebody who knew what to look for to tell you what works and what isn't.
Oh my gosh, it's so hard. And I appreciate the kind words, but I had that same moment the other day where I woke up and I was like, we're doing another launch. Why aren't we using the same ads that worked from February? Like, why are we creating new
Right.
ads? Like, I slacked the whole team and they were like, I don't know. Why are we? I'm like, I don't know. Why are we? And so you do have those moments, I think, even as a marketing expert, where it's so good to have that outside perspective. And I know so many people just want to kind of check the box on marketing, right? They want to have the post created and scheduled in LinkedIn, and it's like, good job, I'm done for the day, I'm done with my marketing. What is it that how do you approach it in a way that makes sure that it's meaningful and not just busy work?
We are taking the offer first and working backwards always. So we go from offer to conversion event. So that would be the opportunity to sell them the offer, to how are we going to get them on the conversion opportunity, to what is the big takeaways of the offer that they would need to understand and believe to be true in order to say yes. And we take that and break it into social content. So all of our content is leading to the outcome. That sounds like a lot of words, but if we were to say something along the lines of, in order to, let's say I'm a nutritionist, and in order to boost your metabolism, I believe that there are 4 core principles you need to do, like drink a lot of water, get a good night's sleep, and only eat till full. And then the 4th one would be to, I don't know, to move your body 15 minutes a day. Let's say that was my jam. Then I would build all of my social content around those 4 principles. And every single time I shared one of those principles, I'd say, and for more things about this, visit our whatever the next step is. So really, there should be no random content. It should always be super valuable, incredibly amazing, but always walking them towards the next step to opt in for the next step. That would be the offer.
Oh my gosh, I love that. With the word that came to mind when I was hearing you speak is just that intentionality. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just creating to create, but creating with intention. And that's such
Exactly.
great advice. And it's funny, I'm sitting here talking to you about business. And one of the things that you and I have in common is faith. And it's one of the reasons why we connected. For those of you who are listening, hilarious fact, but Kim and I are both half Jewish, half Italian, and we both live in the Northeast. And we're probably around the same height by just as an estimate of seeing pictures. So it's really funny. We have these amazing things in common. But in addition to that is this perspective of faith. And when you are in a process of making decisions, like you've moved from your agency to your coaching, or you're in your coaching business and you have big decisions, um, what are some of the, I've heard you talk about this before, and I'm so excited for you to share it to the audience. How do you go about that decision making that incorporates your faith?
First of all, I am an incredibly driven and busy human. And so I have to be intentional about taking time to have conversations with God, because I can be so busy that I never ask him what he thinks. And then I am trying to figure everything else out for myself. And it's a hot mess express. And something will happen. So he's like, yo, listen up. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. But when I spend time, I know that that's a spiritual gift. And so I understand that not everybody can hear that clearly. And I understand that too. So I have compassion for you if this is something you struggle with, because I know it's hard and that you have to spend time. Actually, and my pastor that I'm really good friends with, Jason Tucker, he has a book called Listen Louder. And it's all about how to hear it more clearly. And he gives some really good practices to hear it more clearly. But I have that intentional time. And what I will do is, especially during service, I will journal, and I will journal with intention. Like there's something that I'm working on or something I want to share with my audience. And always there's some clarification that will come to me to be able to share with them. When it's something, and this was the one that just hit me, which I think you'll appreciate. This came this weekend and it's blowing my mind. But you've heard the term before, your mess is good. Your mess becomes your message, right? Like we've heard that 5 million times. And then like I had expanded upon it and said, your mess becomes your mission. Because then that goes a little bit bigger. But it actually hit me this weekend that your mess becomes somebody else's miracle. Because
Oh, I
the
love that.
day, right? The day that happened to you, their story began, because now you're seeking a solution that when you uncover, you can share with them. And that's when it was like, oh, that's behind all that we're doing. My purpose isn't to help people unlock their purpose. My purpose is to help people unlock so that someone else can have their miracle.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
It's
Yeah.
so cool. And there's this story in the Bible. Those not familiar, everyone's pretty much heard of this, like the bread and the fishes. And I had heard it from a perspective, always like in my mind, the perspective was Jesus had the bread and the fish, and there wasn't a lot, but he went out and he fed all the people, but he did not feed all the people. And I heard this differently right in the moment. I was supposed to hear it differently. And that was that there were the 5 disciples there, and he gave them the job to go feed them. And they're like, yo, we don't have anything. He's like, what do you got? And they're like, we have a few pieces of bread and a few fish. And he's like, go feed them with that. And they're like, we don't know what to, he's like, they're like, it's not enough. He's like, just go feed them and I will keep refilling the basket. And so he started feeding them. They started feeding, and the basket kept filling, kept filling, kept filling, kept filling. And they fed all the people so much that they had 12 baskets left over in the end. And so that's what I look like at my life. I will go forward with what I've got. And I know with my faith that he will give me the next step. I don't know always what it's going to be. I'm just going as fast as I can, and he will fill my basket up, and I will feed them what I got, and he will keep giving me more to feed them as we go.
I love that. It's this idea of creating space, I think, for God to show up. I have learned that the hard way. I think sometimes we're like, okay, God, when you show up, then I'll make the space, right? Or like, you go first. And I think a lot of times it's like, no, you create the space for me to show up. You create the margin. You make it available, and then I'll meet you there, right?
Um,
And that's a really, really powerful message. What do you think is the key to growing a business as a faith-based entrepreneur? What do you think the main approach is that really helps make that possible?
I think each person is going to have to come up with that with their own journey, and decide what that means for them. I had it very clear of what my purpose is, to unlock other people's purpose, and then I'm supposed to do that in the main business marketplace, not specifically for kingdom entrepreneurs. And I'm supposed to serve men and women specifically, but I know each person's going to have their own piece of that. And so what I look at each step is, does it help? Every single thing that I do is put against, does it help me fulfill that mission? If it is a distraction, if it's about my ego, if it's about wealth or greed, then the answer is no. And so I use that as my guiding principle. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to help men and women of all colors, races, shapes, religions uncover what their purpose is. Then if it helps me do that, awesome. If it doesn't, I have to look for the next thing that does. And it really, and is it the most impactful use of my time, money, and energy to do that? Because like, am I going to have to travel for 3 days to go to speak to California to 10 people? I will not do it, even if they're going to pay me a ton of money, because I can't reach that many in that moment. So I'm always looking at that as my bar to how many people can I serve in that way at that time.
Oh my gosh, I absolutely love that. And just as we're wrapping up, where can people find you if they want to connect with you? What's the best place to look?
Well, I purposefully have 3 names, so I'm the only one like me, Kim Walsh Phillips. And I want you to go to your favorite spot that to hang out. So whether or not you like Instagram or Facebook, those are good places. Or my company is powerfulprofessionals.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, Kim Walsh Phillips. You'll see all those links in the show notes, and I appreciate your time.
Thanks so much for having me.